What if I told you 99.9% of players didn't notice this Easter egg in the new Monkey Island trailer? The rabbit hole started when I discovered an out-of-place object in a single frame of the trailer, an object foreign to the time and space of its setting. This is called an anachronism. A single paperclip seen in this frame at Stan's pre-owned vessels. The paperclip was invented in 1899, although this game is canonically set in 1684, so naturally I scroll to the 18-second mark and the 99-second mark of the trailer. Guess what I find? A portrait of Wernher von Braun in each frame. But why did Rare make a connection between this paperclip and this scary-looking German? In 1945, World War II ended and the Cold War suddenly began. Desperate for scientists, the US government authorized Operation Paperclip, which allowed the newly formed NASA to hire captured Nazi scientists. One of these brilliant Germans acquired an Operation Paperclip was Wernher von Braun. Scarier than any skeleton captain, this Nazi von Braun can be seen with his distinctive German fencing scars. Even scarier is that this man was later appointed head of NASA in 1958, with unlimited rocket technology at his disposal. This Nazi rocket scientist in the highest ranks of our government highlights just how desperate the West was to avoid nuclear war with the Soviets. So desperate that the CIA operated outside the knowledge of Congress for decades, committing what we call war crimes today. But what does the Cold War have to do with Monkey Island? And why has Rare included this Operation Paperclip Easter egg? Monkey Island itself is a reference to the Banana Republic island of Cuba. The game's original developer has even stated that Monkey Island is an allegory for the nuclear proliferation brought on the world through communism. Communist Cuba being at the climax of the conflict as the Cuban Missile Crisis was the closest the world has ever gotten to total nuclear annihilation. In 1962, the Soviets tried to place missiles in Cuba, which would have reached the mainland USA within 10 minutes if launched. The CIA responded with clandestine operations, involving over 100 assassination attempts on the dictator Fidel Castro, as well as the notorious Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. If you look at the trailer in both 19 and 61 second marks, you will see pig skulls, a blatant reference to the deadly Bay of Pigs invasion of 1961. The CIA recruited extremist Cuban nationals and armed them so they could sail to Cuba and overthrow the government as a US proxy. However, Castro's spies discovered the plot early and they were able to prepare beach defenses. The Cubans in canoes were gunned down, and JFK was fuming at this CIA disaster. This was the first time he caught the CIA operating without his approval, without Congress's support, and without the knowledge of the American public. JFK knew the CIA was dangerous, but his fears weren't realized until 1962. If you go to 62 seconds in the trailer, you'll see the northern forest of Monkey Island. This is a blatant reference to Operation Northwoods. Desperate to get Russian nukes out of Cuba, but unable to convince Congress to go to war with Castro, the CIA made a wild suggestion. They proposed a false flag attack called Operation Northwoods. The CIA would pay Cuban actors to stage fake killings of US civilians in US malls, airports, and even schools. They would even shoot down unmanned civilian airplanes to make it appear that Cuba was initiating war with the US mainland. All of these fake killings would appear fully real to both Congress, the public, and the world. It seems impossible today that our own government would fake terrible events like these and deceive the public. But in their eyes at the time, this was the only alternative to nuclear war. This wouldn't be the first false flag attack in US history, as we look from the Boston Tea Party and the Rev War to the Gulf of Tonkin initiating Vietnam. Operation Northwoods was only shut down because JFK demanded it. Soon afterwards, he gave a chilling speech in which he warned about the need to abolish secretive factions of our government, which operate outside the control of Congress. He was referring almost explicitly to the CIA. JFK was then assassinated in Texas while touring for his re-election campaign. To this day, his living relatives openly speculate that the CIA was responsible. I had assumed that the Cold War Easter eggs would end there, until I noticed this pile of books in the frame at this timestamp. This is a blatant reference to the Texas Schoolbook Depository, from which Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK while positioned in the 8th-story window on the southeast corner of the building, using his obsidian Eye of Reach sniper. The prison shown here at the 246 mark is a clear reference to JFK's assassin himself then being assassinated by Jack Ruby, which occurred at the Dallas Police Headquarters. A motive was never revealed for the killer of Oswald, who himself denied killing Kennedy. Shout out to Rare for including this incredible Easter egg in their game. This Cold War history is incredibly relevant as we look at the state of the world today. Has anything changed in 2023?
Legalize nuclear bombs.
The world is still on the brink of nuclear catastrophe as a result of tensions between East and West. This parallels one of the major themes of Monkey Island, which is that no one ever really leaves. You can only venture deeper into the jungle, as our world can only venture deeper into nuclear tension, as the second hand of the doomsday clock can only tick closer to midnight. I suppose if there's one lesson we can learn from all this, it's that you should subscribe to my YouTube channel.